I think we're on air.
We're live. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Zolo and KT show. We're in our new establishment at the Pod Harbour in Edgecliff. Our new home. 2 weeks we've been here now, and the setup is great. And just getting settled in. I had a couple of free coffees, which is good.
How many coffees have you had?
2.
Only 2?
Only 2.
I reckon it's been more.
I strongly agree with it. Strongly agree.
We all have vices.
I've had 6 cups of coffee. I'm just going to throw it out there.
Oh no, I thought you meant since I've been here.
Oh, since you've been here.
Yeah,
I
2
think
since I've been here.
2 since you've been here.
Yeah. I was here at 3.
Oh, you hit 3.
3:30.
Wow.
With Mr. Luke Bramble. So anyway, enough about me and my coffees.
Who's our guest? Let's bring in our guest.
Yeah, let's bring in our guest. So, ladies and gentlemen, I'd like to introduce you to Mel Harrison, who from Sitting Low, Reaching High, and Adaptive Fitness. So, welcome in, Mel.
Thank you.
Tell us a little bit about your journey and why we pulled you in here. My friend Bernie put me in contact with you very luckily, and wanted to share your amazing journey. So, start us off.
No worries. So my name is Mel, and I'm the founder of Sitting Low, Reaching High. And I guess essentially a little bit of a background about me is that I've had a disability since I was 14 years old. And I acquired that disability after a whole bunch of surgeries that I had on my back. So I've had anywhere between 12 and 16 surgeries on my back.
And what was the majority of those around? Why did they occur?
So I have a number of different conditions. So I've got scoliosis, I've got kyphosis, and I've got arachnoid cysts on my lower spine. So quite complicated person. And interestingly, I started off with kyphosis. So when I was a kid, if I laid on the floor on my stomach, it was 90-degree curve. I kind of looked like the Harbour Bridge. That's how curved it was. Which I always find quite ironic because the Harbour Bridge has only recently been accessible for people in wheelchairs to be able to get over.
In terms of the entire Harbour Bridge walk?
Yeah, so it was about a month ago they installed a lift, so you can now get up to the Harbour Bridge to cross the.
Well done, Bridge Climb.
Well
That's
done.
awesome.
Yeah, which is pretty cool.
Have you done it? Did you say you've done it?
No, I haven't done it. One of my work colleagues has done it, but it's still funny because whilst you've got the lift to get over, you still can't see over the barricade. So you're kind of like just stuck on the path.
Yeah.
Which is
Step 2, Bridge Climb. You want to make it visible once you get
Exactly
to the
right.
top.
It was funny. I went and did the bridge climb once, and then they didn't know why there was a trolley full of beer cans up on the top of the near the flag. They couldn't. It's like a mystery. I think it's like still to this day they couldn't figure out how a trolley got in there and then 24 empty beer cans. I don't know if they promoted that outside of what they told us, but they just couldn't figure it out. So there's a trolley on the top of the Harbour Bridge. Not anymore, obviously. They've taken that down. It's interesting. I'm like, how the hell? Because if you've done the climb, you have to walk up.
Yeah.
You have to get up there all the way to the top. It's so difficult just to get up there and then to have a trolley up there full of beers and to break in without anyone knowing. Like, well done.
But I reckon that the beers were actually helping them to get up.
Yeah, exactly
because
right.
They couldn't feel their legs.
Yeah.
That's right.
So that's the theory. So where was I?
Back to kyphosis.
Yeah, so kyphosis, and then from that I got arachnoid cyst on my lower spine, and so they had to keep doing surgeries to try and drain that. Had a number of surgeries up until between 4 and 7, then I was okay, and then when I was 12 I got scoliosis, had surgery on that. Then when I was in year 8 I had 5 major surgeries on my back over a 9-month period, and the last surgery I came out and not been able to walk, essentially.
No.
So, but it was kind of a decline of it, and it's kind of funny sometimes because I sit there and say, I think it's karma against myself because it happened a couple of days after Christmas in '95, and when they told me I wouldn't walk again, but a few weeks before that, my mum wanted to go Christmas shopping, And for weeks she was like, we'll hire a wheelchair and go to Bankstown Shopping Centre and we'll go around, and I didn't want to be seen in a wheelchair. Then a couple of weeks later,
really?
I ended up in a wheelchair.
Oh, no.
And I'm like, so I just laughed about that. But no, like, so essentially the reason why I guess started the sitting low, reaching high is because I've had that life of like complications with medical stuff, but also the difficulties in terms of the attitudes out there towards people that have disability, and when things aren't necessarily accessible for people with disability, and how you've got to always constantly fight to be able to get somewhere, etc. And
do you find that people are supportive, or do you find that it's just like it's not supportive in access? Like you mentioned off air, you were saying that you were stuck at 10 flights up it 10 flights? So is it more of those sorts of things, or do you find people that are not as educated or supportive around?
I actually do. So I find that the biggest challenge to get over is attitudes from people, because it's when you speak to, like, most people that have a disability, they'll say they're okay with the fact that they've got a disability. It's usually the people that are in front of them that aren't necessarily okay. And I get it, and that's the reason why I like doing what I'm doing as well, is because I've lived that life without a disability, so I kind of know what it's like to not know.
Do you think it's an education gap, or do you think it's a fear gap? People not understanding both.
Yeah.
Because I think some people are ignorant to it. They've not had the proper education around it, or they are fearful because they're not sure, they don't understand, they've never been exposed to it. So, your version is a bit of everything. And
I agree. And then and so the other thing, so I like to educate around diversity and inclusion and that resilience, and trying to build that resilience, but stuff a lot around adaptive fitness and adaptive recreation, because that's where my passion is, I guess, because that to me challenges my headset as well, so my mind, and because often people will view me and go, oh, she's the girl in a wheelchair, that's her biggest issue in life, but it really isn't. It's that mental fear of pushing through, and you speak to people like in the fitness industry all the time, they all say that. So they're all like saying they've got to push through that mental fear, because that's the only way that you can build upon what you've already got, etc. And it's interesting. So
I always say to people that don't understand the mind-body connection is try standing in front of a toilet and not weeing yourself when you're busting. That'll make you realise how much the body and the mind is actually connected, right? Because when you need to get to the toilet, you need to go as soon as you see that toilet, you can almost pee yourself, right?
Yeah.
And it just makes you realise that mind-body connection is all too true. And I think you're right, is that, physical limitations are only a percentage of it. It's actually the mental limitations that are more of a challenge.
Yeah.
And so your business, Adaptive Fitness, tell us a little bit about that.
So adaptive fitness. So essentially, because I do go to the gym. It was known the UFC gym in Alexandria. It's now Crunch Fitness.
UFC's not there anymore?
No, but it's still the same building. It's
Crunch
really? Fitness now.
Okay, interesting. I thought the UFC gyms were going well, and then obviously not.
Well, I think they are. Still going well. The people are still the same people, but they've just
rebranded.
Rebranded. So I go there 3 mornings a week and train with my trainer, and generally on a Monday night, and do the pound class. So with the weighted drumsticks and hitting the ground and the air to music and stuff for 45 minutes.
I've never seen this.
No, I've never seen
you
this
should
either.
actually go.
Yeah.
So on a Monday night, absolutely amazing. So obviously I'm usually the only person in a wheelchair that goes to the class. So it's all able pods, and so there's a couple tracks where they do it on the floor, but the rest of them they're doing like standing, because they're doing the lunges, etc., and the squats and everything. And they really don't like the ones on the floor, because that's when you have to actually use your core and stuff. And I'm like, try doing it for 45 minutes. But yeah, so that's pretty cool. But from doing that, it's actually meant I'm able to do so much more as well. So, because I travel a lot, so I travel all over the country for work, but I travel the world for pleasure. And like things like last year, I sailed from Tasmania to Sydney for 10 nights
Wow.
on the tour ship.
Wow.
Best experience ever.
Yeah.
It was amazing. So, but that wouldn't have been so easy, or so, no, I shouldn't say it's easy because it wasn't, but so good if I hadn't have had that fitness behind it, etc.
Yeah.
So, but that was also pushing through that fear as well, because, you know, little things, like things that you guys probably wouldn't realise, just going to the toilet, how hard it is when you're in a wheelchair, trying to transfer on the toilet when the ship is like going up and down.
Yeah.
So when people would be walking past the bathroom, they'll just hear me going, and a 1, and a 2, and a 3, jump. Like, because I literally had to time it to be able to.
Really?
Otherwise,
Wow.
I would not be able to get on the toilet. So,
And did you have a few wines as well involved with that?
No, because we were crew, most of the time we couldn't
Alright.
actually drink. So it was only on certain shifts you could actually have a drink, because you're actually working. So we were working
Wow.
anywhere from 12 to 16 hours a day, like sailing the ship. So
How fun that actually sounds.
Yeah.
Sailing?
Sailing 12 to 15, 16 hours without a wine in a day.
Oh.
I think that's probably the longest period of time that I've gone without drinking
Yeah.
since I was 18. But yeah, it was good.
Well, so adaptive fitness,
Yeah.
where do you run it from? And it's obviously to adapt people to.
Yeah, so I don't run it in terms of doing the adaptive fitness with people. I talk to people about doing adaptive fitness in itself. So my plan is to be able to start eventually groups where people with all types of ability get together and do things that are around adaptive fitness, because the thing that I always think about when it comes to adaptive fitness or anything in life is that we all got different needs and different strengths, etc. So it's not all that different at the end of the day. It's like when I'm at the gym, like I'm doing chin-ups. A lot of girls can't do chin-ups that are able-bodied girls, but I can do chin-ups. So we've all got different kind of strengths in that sense.
Hit the nail on the head in terms of the industry as a personal trainer. You know, what we're seeing now is blanketed approaches to fitness, and adaptive, whether you're a physically able person or not, is exactly how we should approach well-being and fitness as well. So I love the name.
Do you think that people should just, we're in a bubble wrapped society these days, and is that what you talk about? We'll go into the motivational talks that you do as well, but do you find that that's what you're there for? You feel as though you can give people a kick up the arse, like stop being wrapped in bubble wrap, get out there and do something if I can too? Is that the sort of message you share, or is it more of a nurturing approach?
Not really. I think for me it's more that I don't necessarily feel like I go out and tell people to do it, but I think people see me do it and then they go, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well, you know, and I remember when I started doing the adaptive fitness quite intensely was 5 years ago when I went and did the Bay Run walk with a childhood friend of mine, Joshua, and we did the 7K walk and then went to breakfast, and then at breakfast he convinced me to do the CrossFit challenge. So, and it was a partner challenge, and it was for 34 days, and within that was 6 days a week doing intensive exercising and having to eat the strict paleo diet, and which includes no drinking and no cheese, etc.
No cheese, alcohol.
I know, massive things for me.
And me.
Yeah, me too.
So I agreed to do this challenge, and it was interesting because it was the partner challenge, and because I was doing it, I also wanted to raise money for the Starlight Foundation. So I raised $5,500 for the Starlight Foundation.
Gosh.
Because it was really close to my heart, because I spent a lot of time in hospital when I was a kid, and I had quite a lot of people that I saw that were terminal and getting like their wishes, etc. And one of the girls that I was in hospital with for a month, and at that point I was bedridden, because back then when you had back surgery they actually didn't get you out of bed, they just made you stay in bed for like a month, and I did that, and there was a little girl that would come and play like the games with me, etc. Every day, and she became my best friends, because the only person I was really seeing other than my family. And I just remember the day before she went home, her mum and dad came and told me like to say goodbye to her the next day, because I wouldn't see her again, because she had like a brain tumour, but she didn't know.
She didn't know.
Yeah, she didn't know. So I hugged her and I was all upset, but she didn't know that she was going home to die.
Oh my God.
But whether that's a good thing or not, but at least she was happy in her last bit.
Would you want to know?
Me? No.
No?
No. Because I think we were talking about Mel and I off air about like we both operate well busy. Like even when it's like I couldn't do what you do, like we have a business, do the podcast or lecture, I'm a mum, it's like, and I'm like, but I couldn't take the time out that you do, because I get destructive. So if I knew, I think that would just eat me up.
Yeah.
And I think it's interesting, and I think from that's kind of was one of the reasons why I wanted to raise money for the Starlight Foundation, because I saw how good they were for like kids when I was like in hospital and stuff.
Yeah.
But I remember when I started doing the challenge, because I had been going to Fitness First in Newtown.
Okay.
And I'd been seeing a trainer, and I'd been doing workouts for a while and stuff.
How long ago, just out of curiosity?
Fitness First in Newtown, that would have been, 5.5 years ago?
Okay. Bailey Holland, our biggest fan. The other reason, he'll be on this Facebook Live.
Hi!
He'll be on this Facebook Live. He was a sales sales membership consultant at Fitness First Newtown.
Oh, wow.
So I just don't know if you knew him or anything like that. So
I can't remember. Zoe.
He'd be on here saying something right now, surely. That's
Zoe was my personal trainer at Fitness First.
Who was that?
Zoe.
Zoe.
Yeah, I used to see her on a Thursday morning or night. I can't remember which one it was. So, and then I went to do my first workout. It was called the AT session on a Friday night, Joshua, and I just remember the CrossFit head coach, Rob, turning around going, okay, all you're going to do is a 2-minute workout with a 4-minute break times 7. And I just looked at him and I went, seriously, is that all I'm doing? Sort of thing. Within the 3rd round, I thought I was going to throw up. By the end of it, I got in the car, I cried because I did not want to come back. But it was because I had committed to the Partner Challenge and to the Starlight Foundation. I kept going back. But it was just a real struggle for me initially, because I was like, there's like 200 people training and they're all able bodies and they're all like good looking, like muscly people and stuff, and then there's me in a wheelchair like coming in, and I just had to push through that barrier like really quickly, and then realise that no, there are things that I can do that they can't do, and vice versa, and that was kind of really quite interesting.
Yeah.
And I remember when we had our Christmas party, at the end of it, one of the coaches was like, like introducing all these people and stuff, and then saying, and there's even this girl in a wheelchair that comes in every day and she just gives it everything and she doesn't complain and doesn't whinge, nothing. And I'm like, who's this girl? She's like, you. And I'm like, I'm in the wheelchair. I kind of forgot. And it's interesting, like, you just do actually forget sometimes. Like, and I think because it's not relevant. Like,
it shouldn't shape you.
No, it doesn't. And I always say I'm just Mel. I'm not Mel
in a
wheelchair. I'm not.
It's like you don't want to box in anything. Like you don't want to box yourself in. Like it's like, for me saying I got red hair, it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Like that doesn't define me. That's not who I am.
I did describe you that to Mel today. I said, when I went to move my car, I said, if my co-host comes in, he's got red fluffy hair.
Do you mean
So I didn't define it, I just described
auburn hair? That's what Mum says. Mate, Liam, you're getting picked on, but you don't have red hair. You have auburn hair. Until Google came around and I googled it, and it just means a tinge of ginger. I'm like, well, that's the same thing, isn't it?
Tinge of ginge.
Tinge of ginger.
So Mel, is like your story inspires me.
Yeah.
You know, on those days that I don't want to turn up and I can't do a chin up.
Mm.
Is there any limitations that you have at all? Like in your mind, do you think there are some limitations?
Absolutely. So I literally almost every single time I go, I pack myself because I just think that I'm always fearful that I'm going to injure the top half of my body and then I'm screwed.
Mm-hmm.
So I do actually, get quite terrified of that, etc. But then I also know that the other reason why I do train so much is because for 20 years I had pain in my lower back, and once I started exercising consistently and stuff, I don't get pain in my lower back anymore. So I'm feeling much better, much healthier, mental health's better, etc. Like, because as soon as you're in pain, everything else goes, etc. So that's what keeps me going. And I've also got like the best trainer as well.
Shout out, who's your trainer?
Kieran Hall.
Kieran Hall, go
Yeah.
Kieran Hall.
Crunch Fitness, Alexandria.
Yep, great trainer.
Do you have a particular type of workout that you love doing? Like, you have people who are swimmers.
Yeah.
You have people who are gymnasts. You have people who like to do different type of activities. Is there certain activities you like doing, or like weightlifting? Is there something that you love doing the most, or you have the best, I guess, endorphin release from the most?
I like doing the stuff that's on the floor. So I like when I'm like walking on my hands, and I like doing the chin-ups, etc. I do like a lot of the balance work, etc. And it's interesting because most people actually think that they've got core muscles, and it's really interesting you don't, like generally. And I learned that very the hard way, like when I ended up in the chair, because I couldn't actually sit like up on the bed without people holding me for quite some time, because your legs and your hips are actually what balances you.
Yeah.
So you've got to actually develop that core and that balance in itself. So I like being challenged on that, because I actually see the benefit in it as well. So for future years, etc. And I like doing things that I guess when I don't think I can do it, and then like Kieran tells me, no, you're doing this, and I guess the stuff that I look at him where I want to kill him. They're the stuff that I actually
That's
like.
That's a good
doing.
trainer-client relationship right there, isn't it?
I used to those looks. What about mentally? Like physically, there are a few limitations, but mentally, is there anything that you think that you can't do? Because you obviously are half walk. Well, that might be soon to be. I've watched a program about a neuroscientist in Sweden, and they've produced something that goes into the spine, and it's a turn on, turn off thing where people, once it's activated, they've actually been able to walk. So that may yet change. But you're obviously a glass half full kind of person.
Yep.
What keeps your mind going? Like, is there a few little sayings that you think, don't let it get to you, push it through?
Yeah. I sing the song I Think I Can a lot in my head. Does my head in.
What is
even
it?
though I think I can. I think I can. I know I can. I think I can.
I know I can.
Now it's going to be in your head.
Yeah.
So, I think, and also for me, it's very much about that. I don't like the words "you can't do something" or "no." I'm very stubborn. So if someone tells me I can't do something, I'm going to do it, even if it ends up killing me. And so we had that experience a couple of years ago as well, when myself and my one of my best friends went to Europe for a month, and she's in a wheelchair. And if you know Europe, it's not particularly wheelchair accessible.
Especially in Italy.
Yes, and we went to Italy. Exactly, yeah.
Cobblestones everywhere.
Yep. So we did a 21-night Mediterranean cruise, but at the beginning we stayed in Athens for 3 nights and then Barcelona at the end for 4 nights. And I decided to buy the Lonely Planet books about Athens and Barcelona going over. Didn't look at them when I was in Sydney, didn't look at them on the plane. Decided to open the Athens book when we were actually in the hotel. And they got a section.
That's something I'll do.
Yep. And they got the section about travelling with disability, and it literally said people in wheelchairs shouldn't come. It's not accessible.
Oh, no.
Like, oh, shit. Right. That's
And
pretty
it was
nice.
Geordie. Was this with your friend in...
Yep.
Oh, no.
And I was like, no, we've got to do the Acropolis. That was the reason why I wanted to go to Athens. I wanted to see the Acropolis. And
That is a challenge, that one.
so what we did, took off the next day. It's uphill cobblestones to get to the ticket booth, and then we finally got there, and going uphill over cobblestones is quite hard, and they managed to give us the tickets, but then they said there's another really long steep hill to get up, to get to the chairlift, and then to get up to the little box that goes on the side of the cliff to get to the top. But they couldn't help us because of insurance reasons, so they're like, if you're going to do it, you have to do it yourself.
Oh, no way.
And we decided we're going to do it.
Yeah.
So we took off, we did it, and like it really pushed us both. And it was interesting because she went there about 5 years earlier with her mum and dad, and they didn't do it because they thought it was too hard. And then we've decided we're going to do it, go up. And I put sunscreen on her back right beforehand, so then sunscreen made my hands really slippery.
Yeah.
So I burnt my hands and ripped my hand open, etc. And
Yeah.
got to the top, and we got in this box, and well, I got in the box first and got up. That was the part I thought I was going to die because it was a really old rickety box, and it kind of thought I was going to fall off it and stuff. When we went up and we got to the top, and the girl was like, "Where's your carer?" And I'm like, "Oh, they're in Sydney."
Not here.
They're not here. And anyway, so then she got Mickey up and stuff, and that was just amazing because there was so many people that were walking up it that gave up halfway through, and we just pushed through that barrier and stuff. Coming back downhill was worse because going down cobblestones downhill, a lot worse than going up. But we ran into a couple of people that were from South Australia, and they kind of helped us in the last bit, which was really good. But yeah, that was a huge kind of challenge, like a mental barrier.
Do you think these days we don't challenge ourselves enough? Like as humans in a digital era, we kind of either give up too much.
Yeah.
Liam even pushed me through my like fear of rejection of, you know, and he's like, next. And I'm like, oh yeah.
I had this magical word that I used. Katie already said it.
Yeah.
It was more for the dating world than anything when I was a single man. And any time I got rejected by a girl, it was just like, it wasn't in a I don't know what the word is, condescending way. It was just like, all right, next. Like what's, you know, and it's the same. Yeah. It's the same with business. I was a personal trainer. You have to, you know, try and get people into your business, and the same thing. If someone said no, next. I used to say it like that, and it had that little bit of a tone that other people who are friends of mine who were in the single, even now in the single game, they just ring me up. I go, how was that date in the weekend? Oh, she didn't get back to me. And they'll go next and have a bit of fun with it. It just has a bit of light-hearted sense to it. So
builds that resilience, I suppose.
Builds the resilience. Yeah, I think that's the biggest thing, though. You know, like for people to have that sense of being rejected. I was thinking about this in the car right here, just thinking of all the people in the past that, because I was a personal training manager, that were just paralysed by fear and fear of rejection. Yeah, and just go out there and do it, and you've done that with the Acropolis. Is that what you say?
Yeah.
Just with people who would have been with your business as well. So, how important is it for a support base? How important is your support base around you? Like we always hear that you are the sum of 5 people you hang around, or and the same thing. You are, you know, your support base is your team that has your back is the one that can help you make you successful, not just your own self. Do you find that a good support base?
Yeah.
And did you actively pick that support base? Or was it just falling into place?
It's really, well, it's interesting in the last, because people have been telling me for quite some time to actually go ahead and trying to start my own business up. So start my own talks, etc. Because of that whole motivational side of things, and all of these things started coming towards me, and it was saying to me that they were supporting me about it, etc. But it's interesting, like you said, my dad has always said, if you can count on one hand the amount of people that will support you, then you're really lucky. And I can count more than one hand. So I feel like I'm quite lucky that I've got so many people that are supporting me through things, not just this business, but around everything in life. And I guess that's one of the things that drives me more than anything, is that because I've seen so many people out there, particularly that have different types of disability, and they don't have that support network, or they don't have people behind them, etc. And that's when issues happen, and that's when problems happen. It's always good when you've got that support network.
Do you think it always has to be family as well?
No.
Mine's family. Mine's the same. My mum and my dad, biggest support now, and my partner Emily. They're the biggest three that just have my back all the way. So it's just funny how we always, the amount of times I've asked that question, it always seems to be be different, and a lot of the time does seem to be the successful one does seem to be from the parents as well.
Yeah.
Having the support. So they give me shit though.
Oh,
I'm the youngest.
I would too.
I'm the youngest, so even to this day, I'm always dreading going back to Christmas dinners because I'm the one that's always picked on.
Yeah.
But
that's because you can take it.
I know with
That's because you can take it.
Can take it, exactly right.
I know with my dad, if I ring him and tell him that I've got a problem, his usual response to me is, "Are you dying?" And I'm like, "No." "Are you going to do anything about it?" "No." Click. Hangs up.
It hangs up.
Yeah. And it's and it actually is really good because it brings me back to reality of going, you know what, things aren't that bad. Often we make them worse than they actually are.
Exactly right. And the funny thing is with the negative connotations we have on words, this always happens to me. As soon as I have a coffee, I start going deep. The coffee's hit me. Well, I think I've said this before, but the word problem is stemmed from Latin, which means pro, and then blema, which means propelled forward. So problem actually means an opportunity to be propelled forward into a direction. So problem's not a bad thing. Problem's actually a good thing.
Yeah, and makes you learn,
grow. It's what can I solve now? Even doing this today, we just had some internet problems. We're just no, we're going to just, it's an opportunity right now. Just push forward. So where people goes back to what we were saying before, people stop. Don't they?
And it's interesting that you say that, because I sometimes sit there and go, I would like a life or just one day where I don't feel like I'm battling something that has to do with my disability, or, the challenge in my head, little simple things about, where am I going to park, or this morning driving to work, it started pouring down with rain, and I had to wait 10 minutes before I can get out of the car because it was pouring with rain because I can't hold an umbrella and walk. So I'd be saturated before I got to work. So just little things, I wish sometimes it would just be nice and easy, etc. But then I realised that I wouldn't actually like that because I actually like that challenge of having to push through, and, and also having that challenge shows other people how it can be overcome as well. So I feel like I'm paving that way for people.
It forces you to use your creative side of the brain as well, though, doesn't it? I did this workshop one time. It was a self-development workshop. This sounds really mean, but I got incredible insight from this little scenario. But this man, he was in his late 60s or 70s. He had Parkinson's disease. So he actually, we had to write, it was 4 days, and then we had to write a journal. And we had to write the whole journal. I know it sounds funny, but we couldn't skip lines, and we couldn't have words that are just half a line thick. It had to be full,
Yeah.
Using the whole page. So it's funny that because we start to anyway. I'll digress on that, but we'll go back to the Chris. His name was. He had Parkinson's disease.
Yeah.
Came in after the first day. We said we would write the journal. And he didn't do it, and we all had to stand up if we didn't. If one of us didn't do the homework, we all had to stand up until we finished the homework. We were like kids.
Yeah.
But he's like, I can't do it because I've got Parkinson's disease, and they're like, well, find a way. And that was it. And I'm thinking in my head, oh, you asshole, the instructor, let him go, like let him go. But he was like, well, and he got really frustrated with that, like, well I've got Parkinson's disease. And it goes back to what we were saying before. Like, it doesn't have to be defined on that. That's what the instructor was saying. But he found the way that he's like, well, after 5 minutes of all of us standing there, he's like, maybe I could write my right hand or the other hand. So he sat down and wrote the journal in his right hand. Took plenty of time, another 15 minutes, but he finished the homework.
Yeah.
He found a way to be creative. Now he writes constantly. As I found on the weekend, he writes in his journal with his opposite hand now, so it doesn't affect him because it only affects his one side.
Back down to this side that you found, Mel, that humans thrive on challenge.
Yes.
Right, and I'm a bit like you. I ask myself, I constantly put myself in uncomfortable positions, and sometimes I get anxiety. I sweat. The first time I came on radio with Liam, I sweated like crazy. I should have drunk the coffee beforehand. I think my tongue stuck to the roof of my mouth. And I'm sitting there thinking, why do I do this to myself? Why do I keep putting myself in anxious positions? But again, nothing comes good from your comfort zone, right? And I believe that humans thrive on this of pushing forward, that a problem gets solved once we work out we're not dying. So let's get on with it and build that resilience is what you've done with the business as well as being formed out of your day job. And if we can just touch on that. So
let's go into business.
You work on firstly with disability awareness during the day. You build your business outside of those hours. You train. You travel extensively. You spend 10 days on a boat. I mean, this is building resistance. This is actually, being busy, thriving on challenge. And how do you keep that going?
Main thing is that I don't feel like I can stop. I'm constantly just needing to move, etc. But I think the biggest thing that keeps me going is that I like to prove that the impossible is possible in some way. So everybody has ability to do things in some way. So, and I think my biggest driver is that I feel like, quite honestly, I feel like I ended up with all the medical issues and ended up in the wheelchair was to teach other people. And also like just on like looking at me as well, because I'm so little, people just generally think that I can't do anything for myself and I wouldn't be strong, I wouldn't be able to move, etc. I had to actually go drastic measures and remove the handles off the back of my wheelchair to prevent people from pushing me when I didn't want them to push me, because it's the same kind of concept of if I go over and start tugging on your legs, same thing as if you start pushing me without my permission, same thing. So I think for me, the big driver is that I just want to see change. I like seeing little light bulbs go off in people's heads when they just see, that can be done, etc. Because you can actually look outside of the box. And it's not just that person, it's when there's other people around willing to see how that can be changed or different, etc. And often people don't realise because they don't have that experience or that, that interaction with different people, etc. But we've all got our strengths and we've all got our ability to be able to participate or to be a part of the community in some sense. So
well said. So what would you do for your bit, like there's different parts of your business that you're doing? So there's a motivational, there's a fitness side. So can you go into a little bit more detail on the fitness, like on each of them? How does it work? Do you do talks in schools, for example, or and
Yep.
the fitness side? Do you personal train, or do you just?
So no, I don't personal train, but in terms of talks, so recently I have done talks with like Amazon Web Services, so around diversity and inclusion. So that's the national and international company. So that's about trying to diversitise their systems to make it more disability friendly, disability aware. And I've done things in different expos. So I was in Melbourne last week, so doing a talk in Melbourne, and that was a lot about changing perceptions of disability, but around adaptive fitness primarily and recreation, because recreation's a huge one as well, because often people just don't think that people with disability can be included in different recreations, etc. I remember when I was in high school, like it was just assumed that, you know, because I had a disability, that I just want to do bowling. That was the sport that I'd want to do, but not actually hold the bowling ball, just push the ball off
Push
the
the
mat.
ball, yeah.
Exciting.
I still do that
Really
now.
exciting.
That's because you drink too much beer.
Really exciting.
Not enough.
Yeah, exciting.
So we kind of have to look at wrapping up because and this is waiting, but your business, Sitting Low, Reaching High, motivational speaking.
Yep.
Where can people find you?
So on my website, so it's sittinglowreachinghigh.com.
.com, Facebook page, Instagram.
Yep.
And any last words? I mean, obviously, we want to help get the message out there that becoming adaptive, it's not ignoring, it's not thinking that they can't do anything, it's not really disabled, it's learning to adapt life with a disability.
Mm-hmm.
So a couple of words or a one-liner or something that you can help our guests motivate or even be educated towards it.
Try and challenge your mind and just keep reaching higher, because you are the best version of yourself. Don't compete against other people. Just compete against yourself and challenge yourself from the day before. And that's how I see it. And don't think things are impossible, because nothing's impossible. It's just a different way of doing something.
I'm possible. I love that. I really much. Impossible.
I am possible. Who said that one? That's a good one.
I know, it's a quote. It's not my one. Did you like my other one the other day?
Which one?
Monday-itis or Monday ears?
Ah.
Yes, that is.
I made that one up.
Did ya?
I did. And
Patent.
A wine wasn't involved, I think. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much,
Mel.
Mel. Thank you for your
Wonderful
time.
job you're doing out there.
Thank you.
Thanks, Joanne.
Thank you.